Hey there beautiful souls, Avalon here, and today I'm doing a video on my working decks, my current working decks. These are the decks that I decided not to pack up during the move and work with. This was a really tough decision to make, I've got to tell you, because as I stood there in front of my collection, I could not decide. In the end, there was no formula to my decision. There was no trick to it. It was basically a state of, oh, for fuck's sake, I've just got to pick one. So I grabbed a couple. There were some that I chose because I knew that I couldn't live without for even like a day. So they came in. And there are others where I'm just like, well, I haven't had the chance to get to know you. Perhaps this is a great time, and so on and so forth. And, it's a sucky situation because I don't know how you guys operate, but I am of this type of person. I approach my tarot decks in two ways. One is I dedicate time to getting to know a new deck, and that's usually a period of around 6 weeks. I've talked about this before. It can be more, it can be less, but usually the average is about 6 weeks. And I do that for brand new decks or for decks that I know that have been shelved for a really long time and that I feel like I need to get to know all over again. And that is a dedicated thing. That is something that I plan on doing and then I do it. I'm a very focused individual, so I can do that. And then there is that other side of me that is like, I'll be driving down the street on the way to the supermarket and I'll be just like, bing, oh, I feel like working with my Wisdom of Avalon deck. Or I feel like working with my Illuminati Tarot. Or I'm feeling a deep pull to Mari L, which I can't do, by the way, because I didn't keep those decks out. I kept these decks out, and already I've had these pangs of, I just want to, oh, damn you, you're in a box. So, yeah, this is quite difficult for me. I know that some of you are sitting there going, what's the big fucking deal? But you know what? These are my passion, people. These are my babies, and I love them. I need to be surrounded by them. I need to have access to them 24/7 at all times because of that reason, because I know what I'm like, okay? So this is actually a bigger deal than probably most of you can imagine. Now, I've got two decks in my bedroom right now. It's sitting on my ancestral altar that I didn't pull out because they're on my ancestral altar. There's some mojo going on there at the moment, and they are the Chrysalis Tarot and the Mother Mary Oracle by Alana Fairchild. The Chrysalis Tarot, Tony Brooks, and Holly Sierra, and the Mother Mary Oracle. So they're there, and they've been there for quite some time now, and I'm doing some ongoing work with those. So they don't leave my altar, not even to come in here for a little show and tell action, okay? And they'll stay there until, I pack up that altar to go. And that will be one of the last things to go, because I'll be carrying the items of that altar on my lap, because some of them are actually, passed down the generational objects that I would fucking die if they broke, They've withstood so many different moves, and I'd be buggered and I'd be devoed if they broke, There's that responsibility. Anyways, without further ado, I'm going to show you, because I've got a few of them here. I don't know if I'm going to ramble on too much about them. I'll just see how I go for time. Like I said, I've kept a small portion out. This is by no means enough, but it is an adequate amount to work with for the time being. I mean, I need to stop being such a little baby about it. So the first deck that I'm going to show you is a no-brainer for me anyway. You'll be like, of course. And that is Soul Cards 1. Soul Cards 1. Of course I kept this deck out. Of course I did, folks. This is like my baby. And this is Soul Cards 1, and you're probably wondering, why didn't you keep Soul Cards 2 out as well? And that is because I have not got the chance to work with Soul Cards 2, and I've kept out a few other decks that I'm getting to know. So I didn't want a whole basket of new decks. I wanted some old faithfuls as well, because ideally I'll be using these for client readings as well. Anyway, so Soul Cards 1, I love them. Of course I needed to leave them out. Of course they were going to be on that, my current working one. I can't do a reading without them, put it that way. The next deck that I've kept out is the Bonefire Tarot by Gabby Angus West. Now, hot tip, folks. I received a hot tip from my friend Gemma by Feather, Branch and Stone. And she tells me that the Bonefire is now being mass-produced by Schiffer. And I've got to tell you guys, I'm stoked about that, but I'm also stoked that I got a self-published version of it. The cardstock is freaking phenomenal. It is so thick, but it's not so thick that it bows. So it's that perfect balance. The cards are actually smaller. The borders are subtle blue, a midnight blue. And I just love this deck. It is such a clear reader. It is one of my absolute favorite reading decks, absolute favorites. And I think I've done my last 4 client readings with this particular deck because it is so damn detailed in its approach. So it's an extremely good reader. And this is actually a great example of a deck that when I first saw it, I didn't like it. I actually put it back, walked away, and then the deck haunted me. And I ended up contacting the beautiful owner of Avalon by Nature on the central coast of New South Wales, where I saw this deck and asking her to get me a copy. And she was so gracious in doing that. And I feel like I have to mention that every time I mention this deck because I was blown away by her service, guys. Blown away. The next deck that I have chosen to keep out is the Vintage Wisdom Oracle by Victoria Mosley because I need a warm hug and some ancient wisdom from time to time. Now, this is a fantastic deck. The author is extremely humble. The creator is extremely humble. This is the backing. And the cards are beautiful. They have great messages on them. Some are just like real soulful truths. Other messages are really nurturing. Others are inspiring. Others can be actually quite groundbreaking, and it's just got a great feel. This deck actually has a great feel, and I didn't think that I would like it because of the artwork. It's not really my style, but it turns out that I quite do like it. I do like it a lot, and I feel very comfortable working with this deck, and it's an old wise soul. So the Vintage Wisdom Oracle by Victoria Mosley. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely necessary to keep out. I've also kept out to unbox the Fairy Lights Tarot. That one. Still wrapped in plastic, and I'll unbox that at some other point. Another deck that I have kept out is the Prisma Visions by James Eaves. This is the backing. And I haven't used this deck thoroughly as of yet. I've had a play with it to get to know it, and I thought this might be a really good time to actually concentrate on it a little bit more and get to know it a little bit better. I'm not at the stage where I know this deck well enough to actually use it for a client reading. Having said that, if somebody wanted to use it for a client reading, I wouldn't protest. But I don't know its energy as well as I do some of the other decks that I have here. And so the purpose of me keeping this deck out was specifically to work with it, to get to know it, because I don't have that formed bond with it as of yet. But it's a very, very cool deck. My opinions of this deck differ from time to time. Sometimes I'm a little bit super impressed with it. Other times I'm just a little bit like, what the fuck with it? And I don't know, I think I haven't made up my mind 100% about this deck just yet. Having said that, I love that I have this deck. I love that it is part of my collection. This is a beautifully crafted deck. The packaging is supreme, and I love it when people go for quality as well as, you know, readability. The next deck that I have got here to work with is, and look at my cute bag. This was sent to me by JJ from Allura Tarot Coaching, and she's incredible. And this is the one that everyone's just recently made a fuss over, and it is the Chakali Tarot. And my deck is still in order because I haven't worked with it just yet. I've played around with it, I've read some of the messages, I've had a good, decent flick through, and I think I'm almost there to be able to start reading with it. But yeah, I just haven't played with it just that little bit more. I just need that little bit more time with it, so I decided to keep it out. Plus, it's a hella creepy deck, hey. It's one of those ones where I was like, I didn't get what the big deal was. I'm like, yeah, okay, I see why people are going for this deck. But I wasn't like, oh my God, I have to have it. I was more like, I want it because I'm really curious about it. That's kind of where I was coming from. And so I still maintain that level of healthy curiosity towards this deck. very Children of the Corn each and every time I look at it. And love this bag. Love this bag. The next deck that I'm going to show you here is, of course, the Nature Whispers Oracle, which clearly I've kept out because of my Tarot and Oracle journaling challenge. This is the backing of the deck. This deck is so light, it's so whimsical, it's positive, it has a healthy exuberance, a childlike enthusiasm to it. The artwork is by Josephine Wall, and the book is actually by Angela Hartfield. Now, the images are somewhat appropriated. They were not created specifically for this deck. They were created and already in play and had gained the admiration of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people prior to the crafting and the putting together of this deck, I should say. I have heard some criticism that the messages in the book don't match the messages on the card, or they don't match the artwork. I have to agree with that to a degree, and I disagree with it too as well. So I'm on the fence about that one. But as I utilize, I haven't been using it like heaps, but I've been using it for my journaling challenge specifically, and I've been able to get to know the deck a lot better as a result of that, because I'm trying to connect with the essence of the artwork and the message and everything. I want everything to be in there. So I've had a really great time with this deck, and I think it's a great one, you know, to use, you know, just on an everyday basis to really lift vibration. It's got a real light, fluffy feel to it. And the next deck is, of course, the Gaia Oracle. How could I not leave the Gaia Oracle out? If you've watched my channel for a while, you will know that I love soul cards, and you will also know that I love the Gaia Oracle. The Gaia Oracle is one of my favorite oracle decks. I do not consider soul cards to be an oracle deck. I think that is a standalone sort of system. Yes, you can call it an oracle deck. Yes, it can be put in the category of oracle decks, but I don't associate it with my oracle decks, and I don't see it necessarily as an oracle deck. I see it as a channeling deck more than an oracle deck. And, you know, you can take it or leave it, but that's how I feel about it. But this is an oracle deck, and this is a magnificent oracle deck. This oracle deck, the Gaia Oracle, is full of nourishing wisdom. It is a frontline deck. So take, for instance, when I was at Mind, Body, Spirit, this is the deck that I had in my hands that I was shuffling, and I was going, can I draw you a card? Can I draw you a card? And the messages each and every time were incredibly nourishing. The positive messages came at just the right time. The darker, deeper messages came with so much wisdom and so much welcome in the heart of the person, because it's just a well-timed deck. It's a well-put-together deck. It's a beautifully put-together deck. And it does have that earthy Gaia essence to it. And so I've had a really great time working with that deck, and I use it a lot for client readings as well, and all my clients love it, probably because of the beautiful messages that it gives. The next deck I've got here is the Oracle of Shadows and Light, because I needed a little Lucy Cavendish and Jasmine Beckett Griffith deck. This is the backing of the card, and I just wanted a little bit of darkness, because we are in that, you know, we just celebrated Yule, and we're in that time of the year where things are that wintry time, even though it doesn't look like winter in my end, and I'm still in a singlet. But, you know, we did have a cold snap, even for up here in the tropics. So this is a deck that I just wanted around, and I contemplated combining my three Jasmine Beckett Griffith and Lucy Cavendish decks like I had done previously, and made one big gigantic deck, but I thought unnecessary, because I'll get to that another time. It's bound to happen again this year. I like to do it every year, so that's the Oracle of Shadows and Light, and I like to keep it around because it's cheeky. It's spontaneous. It's kind of sassy. It's not what you think it is. That's the great thing about that deck, and all of her decks for that matter, all Lucy Cavendish and Jasmine Beckett Griffith deck, whether or not you're talking about the Les Vampires or the Oracle of the Shapeshifter, they're just not what you think they are. So keep that in mind. The next deck that I'm going to show you is Tarot of the She by visionary artist Emily Carding and forwarded by legendary John Matthews. I love this deck. The way Emily Carding depicts the Fae or the she is beautiful. The colors, the imagery, the keywords, I feel like I'm in high definition with this deck. It is beautiful. She deviates so far from the Rider-Waite-Smith, keeping the titles there still, but she does deviate, and oh, look at that. It is a beautiful, beautiful deck. And I'm so glad that I kept it out, because sometimes I just need it. Like, I need this deck. I need its color. I need its wisdom. I need its vibrancy. This is a really unexpected deck. It's got a real unexpected energy to it. You never know what you're going to get from it. Like, it's quirky. It does have Fae energy in it. I'm quite confident that she really did include that, because every time you read with it, you think, there are certain decks that are predictable in their way, like the Bonefire, for instance. And I don't mean predictable in a bad way, but for the Bonefire, I know that I'm going to get a razor-sharp reading from it. It's going to be chock full of practical information. I just know that, and it's going to be right to the point, and everything is going to be super clear. Whereas this deck, there's so much mystery to it. There's so many ways that you can interpret a card because of the way she's gone with her imagery. And, you know, it's really quite surprising, and there's a sense of enigma, there's a sense of cheekiness, and I don't know how to truly explain it, but it's very Fae in its way. The next deck that I've got here is one that I was gifted for my birthday from my friend, the Violet Pathway. And this is the 4 Agreements 48 deck, card deck, I should say. And it's a little oracle deck. Little square cards. And these are really great. So they've got some great messages. Honor yourself. Be aware of unconscious assumptions. Love and nurture your body. Let life be transformed. I mean, this is a really, really cute deck. Be your best because you want to. And that's great. Surrender and let go of the past. Be yourself around others. Like, they're really great, healthy messages, and I really liked this. And I think the deck itself is actually quite cute. So that is my 4 agreements. Oh, I think I've put them in there backwards. Good on you. Good on you. Maybe not. Oh yeah, that's what I meant to say. There's something on either side. There's an image and then there's something on either side. So yeah, they're really, really interesting little cards to work with. So I'm really grateful that I kept those out. And my daughter really likes those as well. And I think they've got some really positive messages. The next deck I've got here is the Joie de Vivre, I believe. The Joie de Vivre Tarot by Paulina Cassidy. This is a very cute deck. And it reads really well. This is surprising. This is another deck where you look at and you think, oh, that looks so harmless. Look at how whimsical and cutesy that looks. It's not what you think. This has a kindness, though. It has a kindness when you read with it. It's you're going to have a crappy day, but kind of deck. There's always a bit of positive to be found, and that's a result of the whimsical artwork, I think. Paulina Cassidy did a tremendous job on this deck, and it's loved by many. There's no doubt about it. The next deck I have here is Tarot Mucha, or Mucha, and this is a tribute to Alphonse Mucha, or Mucha. It is Art Nouveau style, and this is a newer deck, and I kept it out because of that, because I wanted to get to know it as well. It's still in order, and I had a good flick through it the other day, and I just went, wow, the more I look at this deck, the more I like it. Whereas before it was just a crazy amount of curiosity that drove me to actually purchase it, and now I look at it, I don't like the Hierophant card. I don't like it. That's a resounding, I don't like this card. But Hang on, that wasn't the Hierophant. Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, there's a little bit of a popey sort of feel to it. And it's very, you know, it's very Rider-Waite, but the artwork is really soft and it's very feminine. It's quite, you think it's going to be subdued, but it's not 100% subdued. It's got a great feminine feel to it. It's richly depicted. The colours are subtle, but it's all there. All the energy is there, and all the symbolism is there as well. And you kind of, when you look at a card, you kind of just find yourself getting a little bit lost in it. And I think that that's because of the soft, beautiful nature of the artwork itself. And I like it. I like it for that reason. It feels lovely. And this is Lo Scarabeo deck, believe it or not, and it's a great little box. So I like the little box that it's in. It's very sturdy. The next deck that I've got here is the Gypsy Palace Tarot. That's because I wanted this kind of quirky weirdness. This is a cool deck, starting with the Fool. Well, that's a crazy cool deck. I really like the way that it has this carnival type theme to it. And I recently set this deck to 0, although I think I might have given it a quick shuffle after. It's very vibrant. The predominant colour in this particular deck is red. You can see it throughout. And it has such a cool energy to it. And it's quirky and it's fun and it's frisky and it's a little bit risque, but not in a slutty sort of sexual way. It's just, I don't know, it's got a solid, unique streak through it. It's like the eccentric kid at school, you know, really vibrant and artistic and creative and wildly eccentric and stands out a mile away kind of deck. That's the kind of deck that is. The next deck that I have here, oh my gosh, is a newer one of mine, and that is the Dreaming Way Tarot. And it's one that I recently acquired. I think it might actually still be in order to a degree. So it's a Rider-based deck, and I always looked at this deck, and I love the backing. The backing's really cute. But I always looked at this deck and thought, but then finally curiosity piqued and I had to get it. And I only got this one a couple of months ago, and I unboxed it. I walked in all of a sudden and I'm like, today's the day that I buy you. And it's got an interesting feel. I haven't worked with it enough to even make up my mind what kind of energy it possesses, but I'm looking forward to working with it, and that's another reason why I actually kept it out. I think this is a very fun and easy deck to read. So far, I flicked over a couple of cards and I'm like, okay, really harmless sort of imagery and what have you. So, crappy box though, crappy storage box, and that's not great. Alrighty, so that is the Dreaming Way Tarot, published by US Game Systems. We're getting towards the end of things here. Kiddlywinks. Sort of. The next deck is the Wooden Tarot. There we go, the Wooden Tarot by Skull Garden. I love this deck, and I have actually used it for client readings, and I find it really quirky in nature. It's got a bit of a shamanic feel to it. Has a lot of bone energy. It has a lot of animal medicine in it as well, and it's clean. It's clean. It reminds me of Palo Santo, the actual wood, the sacred holy wood. There's a divinity to this deck that is unparalleled, really. So I like it. It's a downer that it didn't come with a book, and a downer that it didn't come with even a little white book. But, you know, make do with it what you will. Work with it however you want. It's an interesting deck, and it can be utilized in a few different ways, I guess. The next deck here is the iconic Wild Unknown Tarot. This is the backing that I'm sure you're all sick of seeing, and these are the images. Now I have read with this deck for myself, and I get what the fuss is. I absolutely get what it's all about. I get why this is one of the most iconic decks out. I get why it's one of the most photographed decks as well. Because you want to look at these cards, you want to photograph them. They're so freaking interesting. The artist did a tremendous job. It's simple, it's evocative, it's alluring, it's unique, it's enticing, it's imaginative. It's all of those things and so much more, kids. So, Wild Unknown, and I'm getting to know it. I've read for only myself with this deck, and I'm looking forward to getting up the I don't know, it's not even the courage or anything like that. Courage is not the right word. But I'm just looking forward to maybe putting it out there to read with, like to do client readings with. But I think this deck commands a little bit of respect. I don't want to be just another reader using it, you know what I mean? I want to have a really good, solid working relationship with it before I go there, and I'm still cultivating that. That is one that I'm actively working with. This is one that I actually set time aside to work with, and I'm still working with it because it has commanded so much more attention than I had ever thought. We're getting to the end here. The next deck is the Beautiful Creatures Tarot. I'm working with this one just out of freaking spite, guys, because I was so pissed off with it. You know, I'm sorry. The backing is beautiful. There's just so many facepalm moments. I don't know why everything's plural. 10 of Fires. 10 of Fires. I don't like that. The artist is probably like, I have a very good reason why I did it this way, but I don't like it. I don't like that. One of Waters. And all of that is just, it's a little bit much. Plus, the images, like Nature Whispers, they're appropriated. Most of these images were already in play before the deck was created. I don't like the Lovers card. I've said this about a billion times. But I'm working with this so that I can give it a shot, because I don't think that, like, J.R. Rivera is, you know, part of the tarot community and, you know, is a passionate tarot enthusiast, creator, author, all of that good stuff. And I want to give him all of my support. And I can do that if I take the time out to get to know his deck. And I'm going to get to know his deck. This doesn't mean that I'm going to like it. And it's okay if I don't like his deck too. But I just like to understand more. And that means that I have to read the book. And I haven't gone there yet, because when I first opened this deck, I had that heart-sinking moment and I put it aside because I'm just like, no, I have to come back to you. The next decks that I've kept out are two that I have combined, and that is the Goddess and Sirens and Gods and Titans Oracle. And I had to keep them out because, you know, I like my deity cards. I think they are a beautiful deck combined as well. I wish they were combined. I wish the backings were more similar so that when I did combine them, you couldn't so easily tell. This is an interesting depiction of Gaia. Not one of my favorites, but very striking nonetheless. I love the way Jimmy Manton did his work here, how he really depicted these archetypal energies, these deity from across multiple cultures. You know, incredible. And when combined, 10 times more freaking incredible. My gosh. So I kept those bad boys out. And then I've kept out the Sacred Rebels. The Sacred Rebels, guys. I mean, another very, very popular deck. Now, I love Alana Fairchild. I do. And so this one to buy was a no-brainer. When I saw that this was coming out and I saw a sneak peek of the images, I hyperventilated with so much excitement. And I knew Sacred Rebels, Maiden Mother Crone, the actual image on the front of the box. Just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. I want to show you some of my favorites. There are so many. There are so many. I love this one. It's really powerful. I actually drew that one for my husband when he was going through a bit of a thing. Sacred Fool. Power of Attraction. Diving for Light. Shock of the New. I love this one. This is my all-time favorite. This is the Trust Yourself. There's so much more. I mean, I really love this. This is a powerful deck. This is a great deck for shadow work, a great deck for transformation for male and female, especially if you're having issues with that feminine divinity, and that exists in both men and women, of course. At times, like I read with this deck, when I first got it, I actually read for my husband with it, and he was going through this, you know, just this transition. He had some issues going on at work, and he didn't feel grounded, and he didn't feel anchored, and he wanted to know what to do. And I drew some phenomenal cards for him that actually got him to change his mind frame and really engage with more healthy outlets for his stresses and his emotions, and he has been so amazing. His life, his personal life, separate from that of the family, has been so amazing. He's made more friends, his issues with work have sorted out, and that's, you know, that's what an empowering reading can do, and that is what great decks can do. A great deck can give the reader the ability to read with such confidence and such grounded amazingness and awesomeness, and just, oh my God, I started off well there, and then I started to digress into a teenager with my language description there, but it's enthusiasm, folks. That's all it is. But a great deck can really get you in that frame of mind where you can read in the zone. Surfers call it the green room, when you're in the zone, when you're in the barrel of the wave, and that's kind of like the feeling that you get when you have a really good deck and you're in the zone, when you're reading with so much tenacity and so much prowess, and a good deck can do that. And then in return, the reading that you do for another person can actually be life-changing, can shift energy, can actually break through paradigms and get someone so much more empowered and shift their frequency, and amazing things can happen when you sit down with a good deck and a good reader. That's all I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I went the long way about it, but that's what I'm saying. And the last deck that I'm going to show you, it's one of my favorites, and that is the Tower of the Hidden Realm, Barbara Moore, Julia Jeffries. King of Swords. Artwork, absolutely beautiful. A deck that has been described as facey. I love that about this deck. I love that it's all in there, in your face. It draws you in. It brings you close to the character, and it brings you close with the essence of the card. I love how whimsical and how alluring and truthful these readings are. I love the Ten of Swords. I think that's a Morrigan, if I remember correctly. We were just talking about that the other day. Oh, I love this. The Lover's card. The Lover's card. Julia Jeffries did a phenomenal job. And the book itself, Barbara Moore does good work. We all know this, don't we, kids? We all know this. Barbara Moore does phenomenal work. And I love this deck. It has received heavy criticisms. The cardstock is, oh my God, terrible. You know, it's a Llewellyn. Look at that. It's upsetting how thin the cardstock is, and I really, really want to petition Julia Jeffries and Barbara Moore to release decks that are of better cardstock, because Lo Scarabeo is getting there with his. He's heard the cries. But I do like that it's borderless. I do like that the way that the card identifiers, are put down the bottom. They're quite subtly. They're in a bronzy, sort of a gold colour, more bronze, and they don't take away from anything. And I'm lingering on this one because I just love it so much. Every character in there, you kind of look at and you want to know the story. You want to know their story. I 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 want to know this person's story. And there is one card in here. I mean, look at that. I have to show you this one card because it is, oh my God, death. Not that card, but there's so many, oh my God. Eight of Swords. I mean, oh my God. Okay, these two. First, this one. The Six of Wands. I love this. And then this one. I love this card. I love it. Eight of Wands. Eight of Wands, baby. Action. Like, such a beautiful deck. So beautifully crafted. You could just, I get lost in the images. This deck does tell a story, and you can get really lost in the story. So that's it, guys. I actually have a deck that I've recently been gifted, but I'm going to leave that for another time to show you. That I'm really excited about, that someone gifted, you know, to me out of the kindness of their hearts. But thanks for sticking with me for this ramble, guys. If you've made it all the way to the end, I'm pretty impressed with you, put it that way, because this was a really long video, and I had to sort of tell you why I kept the decks out that I kept out when there were so many in my collection that I could have chosen. I just wanted to give you a reasoning and an understanding behind why I chose what I chose, and this was never ever going to be a short video because, let's face it, they just never are. Anyways, so much love, many blessings. I've hopefully got some more videos for you to come. So big love. Take care of yourselves. Hope you enjoyed this, and leave some comments and let me know what you're working with. What decks are you working with at the moment? What deck is new to your collection that you're super excited about? Have you purchased a deck that was kind of like, I don't know about this one, I was just kind of curious, and now it's like shocked you with its awesomeness? Like, tell me your stories. I want to hear about your stories. What are you working with at the moment? And yeah, so let's get the dialogue going. Big love. Bye.